It was nearing our bedtime, but the sun had not yet set. "Hey, your mama's coming," Arnetta said to Octavia when she saw Mrs. Hetty walk toward the cabin, sniffling. When Octavia's mother wasn't giving bored parochial orders, she sniffed continuously, mourning an imminent divorce from her husband. She might begin a sentence, "I don't know what Robert will do when Octavia and I are gone. Who'll buy him cigarettes?" And Octavia would hotly whisper, "Mama," in a way that meant, "Please don't talk about our problems in front of everyone. Please shut up." But when Mrs. Hetty began talking about her husband, thinking about her husband, seeing clouds shaped like the head of her husband, she couldn't be quiet, and no one could dislodge her from her own woe. Only one thing could perk her up: Brownie songs. If the girls were quiet and Mrs. Hetty was in her dopey, sorrowful mood, she would say, "Y'all know I like those songs, girls. Why don't you sing one?" Everyone would groan, except me and Daphne. I, for one, liked some of the songs. "Come on, everybody," Octavia said drearily. She liked the Brownie song best. We sang loud enough to reach Mrs. Hetty. "I've got something in my pocket, it belongs across my face, and I keep it very close at hand in a most convenient place. I'm sure you couldn't guess it if you guessed a long, long while, so I'll take it out and put it on. It's a great big brownie smile." The Brownie song was supposed to be sung cheerfully, as though we were elves in a workshop singing as we merrily cobbled shoes, but everyone except me hated the song so much that they sang it like a maudlin record, played on the most sluggish of RPMs. "That was good," Mrs. Hetty said, closing the cabinet door behind her. "Wasn't that nice, Linda?" "Praise God," Mrs. Margolin answered without raising her head from the chore of counting out popsicle sticks for the next day's craft session. "Sing another one," Mrs. Hetty said. She said it with a sort of joyful aggression, like a drunk I'd once seen who refused to leave a Korean grocery. "God, Mama, get over it," Octavia whispered in a voice meant only for Arnetta. But Mrs. Hetty heard it and started to leave the cabin. "Don't go," Arnetta said. She ran after Mrs. Hetty and held her by the arm. "We haven't finished singing." She nudged us with a single look. "Let's sing the Friends song for Mrs. Hetty." Although I liked some of the songs, I hated this one. "Make new friends but keep the old. One is silver and the other gold." If most of the girls in the troupe could be any type of metal, they'd be bunched up wads of tinfoil. Maybe. Or rusty iron nails you had to get tetanus shots for. "No, no," Mrs. Margolin said before anyone could start in on the Friends song. An uplifting song. Something to lift her up and take her mind off all these earthly burdens. Ornetta and Octavia rolled their eyes. Everyone knew what song Mrs. Margolin was talking about, and no one wanted to sing. "Please, no," a voice called out. "Not the donut song. Please, not the donut song," Octavia pleaded. "I'll brush my teeth 2 times if I don't have to sing the donut." "Sing," Mrs. Margolin demanded. We sang. "Life without Jesus is like a dough-nut, like a dough-nut, like a dough-nut. Life without Jesus is like a dough-nut. There's a hole in the middle of my soul." There were other verses involving other pastries, but we stopped after the first one and cast glances toward Mrs. Margolin to see if we could gain a reprieve. Mrs. Margolin's eyes fluttered blissfully. She was half asleep. "Aw," Mrs. Hetty said, as though giant Mrs. Margolin were a cute baby. "Mrs. Margolin's had a long day." "Yes, indeed," Mrs. Margolin answered. "If you don't mind, I might just go to the lodge where the beds are. I haven't been the same since the operation." I had not heard of this operation or when it had occurred, since Mrs. Margolin had never missed the once-a-week Brownies meetings, but I could see from Daphne's face that she was concerned, and I could see that the other girls had decided that Mrs. Margolin's operation must have happened long ago in some remote time unconnected with our own. Nevertheless, they put on sad faces. We had all been taught that adulthood was full of sorrow and pain, taxes and bills, dreaded work and dealing with whites, sickness and death. I tried to do what the others did. I tried to look silent. "Go right ahead, Linda," Mrs. Hetty said. "I'll watch the girls." Mrs. Hetty seemed to forget about the divorce for a moment. She looked at us with dewy eyes, as if we were mysterious, furry creatures. Meanwhile, Mrs. Margolin walked through the maze of sleeping bags until she found her own. She gathered a neat stack of clothes and pajamas slowly, as though doing so was almost painful. She took her toothbrush, her toothpaste, her pillow. "All right," Mrs. Margolin said, addressing us all from the threshold of the cabin. "Be in bed by 9." She said it with a twinkle in her voice, letting us know she was allowing us to be naughty and stay up until 9:15. "Come on, everybody," Arnetta said after Mrs. Margolin left. "Time for us to wash up." Everyone watched Mrs. Hetty closely, wondering whether she would insist on coming with us, since it was night, making a fight with Troop 909 nearly impossible. Troop 909 would soon be in the bathroom, washing their faces, brushing their teeth, completely unsuspecting of our ambush. "We won't be long," Arnetta said. "We're old enough to go to the restrooms by ourselves." Mrs. Hetty pursed her lips at this dilemma. "Well, I guess you brownies are almost Girl Scouts, right?" "Right. Just one more badge," Drema said. "And about," Octavia droned, "a million more cookies to sell." Octavia looked at all of us. "Now's our chance," her face seemed to say. But our chance to do what? I didn't exactly know. Finally, Mrs. Hetty walked to the doorway where Octavia stood dutifully waiting to say goodbye, but looking bored doing it. Mrs. Hetty held Octavia's chin. "You'll be good?" "Yes, Mama." "And remember to pray for me and your father if I'm asleep when you got back?" "Yes, Mama." When the girls had finished getting their toothbrushes and washcloths and flashlights for the group restroom trip, I was drawing pictures of tiny birds with too many feathers. Daphne was sitting on her sleeping bag, reading. "You're not going to come?" Octavia asked. Daphne shook her head. "I'm going to stay too," I said. "I'll go to the restroom when Daphne and Mrs. Hetty go." Arnetta leaned down toward me and whispered so that Mrs. Hetty, who'd taken over Mrs. Margolin's task of counting popsicle sticks, couldn't hear. "No snot. If we get in trouble, you're going to get in trouble with the rest of us." We made our way through the darkness by flashlight. The tree branches that had shaded us just hours earlier along the same path now looked like arms sprouting menacing hands. The stars sprinkled the sky like spilled salt. They seemed fastened to the darkness, high up and holy, their places fixed and definite as we stirred beneath them. Some, like me, were quiet because we were afraid of the dark. Others were talking like crazy for the same reason. "Wow," Gemma said, looking up. "Why are all the stars out here? I never see stars back on Oneida Street." "It's a camping trip, that's why," Octavia said. "You're supposed to see stars on camping trips." Janice said, "This place smells like my mother's air freshener." "These woods are pin," Elise said. "Your mother probably uses pine air freshener." Janice mouthed an exaggerated "Oh," nodding her head as though she just then understood one of the world's greatest secrets. No one talked about fighting. Everyone was afraid enough just walking through the infinite deep of the woods. Even though I didn't fight to fight, was afraid of fighting, I felt I was a part of the rest of the troop, like I was defending something. We trudged against the slight incline of the path, Arnetta leading the way. "You know," I said, "their leader will be there. Or they won't even be there. It's dark already. Last night the sun was still in the sky. I'm sure they're already finished." Arnetta acted as if she hadn't heard me. I followed her gaze with my flashlight, and that's when I saw the squares of light in the darkness. The bathroom was just ahead. But the girls were there. We could hear them before we could see them. "Octavia and I will go in first so they think there's just two of us. Then wait till I say, 'We're going to teach you a lesson,'" Arnetta said. "Then bust in. That'll surprise them." "That's what I was supposed to say," Janice said. Arnetta went inside, Octavia next to her. Janice followed, and the rest of us waited outside. They were in there for what seemed like whole minutes, but something was wrong. Arnetta hadn't given the signal yet. I was with the girls outside when I heard one of the Troop 909 girls say, "No, that did not happen." That was to be expected, that they denied the whole thing. But what I hadn't expected was the voice in which the denial was said. The girl sounded as though her tongue were caught in her mouth. That's a bad word, the girl continued. We don't say bad words. Let's go in, Elise said. No, Gemma said. I don't want to. What if we get beat up? Snot? Elise turned to me, her flashlight blinding. It was the first time anyone had asked my opinion, though I knew they were just asking because they were afraid. I say we go inside, just to see what's going on. But Arnetta didn't give us the signal, Drumma said. She's supposed to say, we're going to teach you a lesson. And I didn't hear her say it. Come on, I said, let's just go in. We went inside. There we found the white girls, about 5 girls huddled up next to one big girl. I instantly knew she was the owner of the voice we'd heard. Arnetta and Octavia inched toward us as soon as we entered. Where's Janice? Elise asked. Then we heard a flush. Oh. I think, Octavia said, whispering to Elise, they're retarded. We are not retarded, the big girl said, though it was obvious that she was, that they all were. The girls around her began to whimper. They're just pretending, Arnetta said, trying to convince herself. I know they are. Octavia turned to Arnetta. Arnetta, let's just leave. Janice came out of the stall, happy and relieved. Then she suddenly remembered her line, pointed to the big girl, and said, We're going to teach you a lesson. Shut up, Janice, Octavia said, but her heart was not in it. Arnetta's face was set in a lost, deep scowl. Octavia turned to the big girl and said loudly, slowly, as if they were all deaf, We're going to leave. It was nice meeting you, okay? You don't have to tell anyone that we were here, okay? Why not? Said the big girl like a taunt. When she spoke, her lips did not meet, her mouth did not close. Her tongue grazed the roof of her mouth like a little pink fish. You'll get in trouble. I know. Arnetta got back her old cunning. If you said anything, then you'd be a tattletale. The girl looked sad for a moment, then perked up quickly. A flash of genius crossed her face. I like tattletale.